the Louis Diaz podcast.
Episode 71 with Lars Callieou.
Nailed it.
I had practice before. Oh, bro, thanks for coming.
Well, this is probably the coolest place I've ever seen a podcast recorded. This is like doing it at the Opera House. Like, this is a really, really iconic place to record a podcast.
Bro, that's a huge compliment. I was like, yeah, it's cool. But then you pulled out the Opera House comparison, and I was like, is it that cool?
Pretty close.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah.
The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But what I will say, and what I said before we press play, is that people love this. Like, my guests really love it. I have fun here. And the walkers by really love it. So while we're recording, we're going to get heaps of people just stopping and taking photos of us and stuff.
Right on.
And sometimes they'll just come and say hi, and
Nice.
we'll just say hi to them back. So get set for that. Lars Callieou, you're a comedian.
I am.
I saw you at the Comics Lounge the other night. That's why I hit you up.
Yeah,
Because it was like, this guy just loves Australia.
I do.
And I was like, if he fucking loves Australia that much, I want him on the podcast ASAP.
Yeah, it's, you know, if I had three wishes, one of my wishes would be that every Australian comes to Canada. I'd say for 2 months, maybe 3, but 2 months. And then every Canadian comes to Australia for 2 months.
Like an exchange?
Exactly. I would love to do an exchange with, not because you need the experience. You need a bunch of Canadians there. So we'd have to like do it about 20% at a time or something like that.
Yeah.
And the countries are so similar. The countries, as far as age, Canada became a country in 1867.
Okay.
And, Australia in 1901, obviously. So they're the same age. And because they're Commonwealth countries, I love the garbage truck. It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I hope we caught it on the way by. Like, so good. So for the people who might not, for my Canadian friends who are watching this, so this is really some really famous Melbourne street art. Like, of the top 10 things listed by TripAdvisor, this is one of the areas that they would, this is one of the areas that they would say, you got to go down there, and people will be taking pictures. So I've taken many pictures here. A couple of my favorite pictures. One of them was with my friend Joe. Joe used to manage the Exford Hotel, and so we have a cool picture down there. So this is one of those spots. The fact that they would run a garbage truck down here is hilarious.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But there's a couple of sneaky laneways where there's bins, so it makes sense that they do. But also, it's like one of the top 10. Literally, the tourists that have paid a lot of money to come and be here have to get out of the way of the garbage truck.
It's so good.
It's so Melbourne.
Yeah. So as far as going back to our similarities, the Commonwealth influence has made a polite group of people. Australians and Canadians, they're very British in that they queue up, they get in a line, they wait their turn. And that sensibility you find if you come visit Canada, or when you come visit Canada, or if you have visited Canada, is very similar to Australia, and that British influence and real sarcasm. Aussies are real ball busters. They will, if they're making fun of you, it's because they like you. And they won't make fun of you if they don't like you. So the Canadians don't do it quite as hard as Australians, but it's still very similar in that regard. Then, because the countries, the way they were settled, it was these huge countries. I think a lot of Canadians don't realize how big Australia is. Like, Canada's the second biggest country in the world, but when you go coast to coast, Australia's, I think, number 5.
Yeah, right.
And it's such a massive country, so you have this small population sprinkled across this massive country, and then it makes for this pioneer spirit, this helpful, like if somebody's broken down on the side of the road, you're going to stop and help them. And that's Canadian and Australian. It's very, like, we're there to help each other because there was often not a lot of neighbors,
I like that. I just had this sort of flashback to year 8 history, learning about Burke and Wills.
Yeah.
Have you ever learnt about Burke and Wills?
Are those the two guys who went missing?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes. If we're thinking of the same two guys.
There was 2 explorers in Australia?
Yes.
Who,
they took up from Adelaide.
Yeah.
And went to try and figure out how far north they could, try and get north.
Yeah.
And then come back. Do you know where they died?
No.
Okay. So they were found 95% of the way home.
Oh, wow.
Yep. They almost made it home. And that speaks to two things. Talking about like that care for each other because it's such a sparse land, and having stories like Burke and Wills that sort of remind you that fuck, it's an arid place and it's a long distances between locations, and like, yeah, let's give each other a hand. But also it reminds me of like the more modern tale of how people get busted drink driving. It's always around the corner from home. And those are two Australian stories.
Yeah, the comparisons are apt.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, I need to welcome my audience too. This is something I started doing a little more recently because I'm getting a bunch of subscribers now, and it's really great. It's a great experience. That's what you want as a content creator. But, you know, I don't often take the time, or I don't take enough time to thank you, the audience who's come on the recent journey, whether you've seen an episode on YouTube or Spotify, you've come for one of my guests and you've stuck around, or you're a future listener or follower because of this guy. I really appreciate everyone that's here on the journey. If you can give us a thumbs up if you like this episode, if you could subscribe, if you like the content in general, that would be awesome. Leave a comment. Tell me where you're from. Maybe you're from Canada. Who knows? But yeah, it's really great to have you on this journey. So I appreciate it and love you here. Great. Now,
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I was talking to Matt O'Neill last night, and because I had him on the pod yesterday, and I was like, dude, I don't understand when people perform at the Comics Lounge how the last 30 seconds of their set isn't like, all right, everyone, whip out your phones. That's my handle. Get it out. You know, if you laughed your ass off tonight, you're going to laugh your ass off by having me in your feet. You know what I mean? It's just like that 30 seconds to wake people up that are like, oh yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
It's tough.
comedians are the bastard stepchild of the arts world.
I love that.
I feel like we are near the bottom of the ranking of the hierarchy. I think the only people that comedians are above are mimes. So if you're a mime watching
shit.
this, I feel like comedians are above you. But I mean, basically it goes like rodeo clown, comedian, and
then mime.
And then mime. Yeah. So if sculptors and dancers and musicians and poets, everybody's above us. So when it comes to shameless self-promotion, if you have a comedian who just ruthlessly self-promotes, it's kind of, gauche. It's kind of ugh. Like,
Okay.
you couldn't really do that. And I'm sincere when I say to people, and like lots of people have done it. I say at the end of my set, if you follow me on Instagram, I follow everybody back, and then you can unfollow me, and you will gain a follower.
Yeah.
So that kind of tongue-in-cheek, you want it to be a laugh. So at the lounge, depending on the night, you're either doing 7 to 8 minutes or 14 to 15 minutes, depending on whichever night you're on. So the night that you were there, that Tuesday, was 7 to 8 minutes. So if you were to burn 30 minutes of your
30 seconds. Yeah.
30 seconds of the time you have of that 7 or 8 minutes, that could be used developing material. Yeah. So you can build this fan base by being hilarious, and I've been doing it 21 years. So it's tough to give up that last little bit. And the Comics Lounge does such a wonderful job of even giving us a leg up in putting our Instagram on the screen.
That's so good.
And on the TVs.
Yeah.
So there's, probably, I want to say 15 to 20% of the clubs that do anything like that, 1 in 5 at best. And the rest of them just don't give you that little opportunity for somebody to say, hey, you want to come and do this? And
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised that they don't, because, like giving you a leg up gives them a leg up, because then you come back and then you bring people with you, kind of.
Yeah, as a Canadian, and Canadians, they frown upon shameless self-promotion. Like, you get made fun of in Canada.
So that's another attribute that's similar, like a tall poppy syndrome?
Very much so, yeah. And it's not, I don't think it's crab bucket in that. And anybody who's familiar with like the crab bucket effect, you don't have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, because if a crab goes to climb up, the other crabs grab it and drag it back down. And
is that true?
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers.
Yeah. So I don't feel like comedians Canadians, Australians, I don't feel like they would drag you back down. I don't think that they would try and tear you down. But if they saw you standing up there just doing this, like, come follow me here. And with the festival, a lot of the comedians have solo shows, so they'll be flyering after. They'll be giving you a flyer to try and get you. So if you're hilarious for that 7 to 8 minutes, then you'll want to go see their full hour. So it's like a teaser, sort of
That's right.
a
I
trailer.
forgot about the flyering bit.
Yeah.
That's true. The flyering bit is where you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're right in that we should, and it would be good for our career, but as a comedian, it is so hard to do that. So I have
Because of the other crabs.
Oh yeah. Well, mostly because you feel guilty for doing that thing. It might not even be that you would be judged by them, and they probably wouldn't. So it's hilarious I love this. I love stand-up comedy. I have loved it since I was 6 years old. I love this thing so much. And the idea is I'll go up for 7, 8 minutes, be as hilarious as I can. And I wouldn't even care if somebody said my name before or after. It's nice that something like this comes out of a funny set at the Comics Lounge, which if you're watching this from anywhere outside of Melbourne or outside of Australia, the Comics Lounge is an iconic, one of the best comedy clubs on the planet. Probably seats 500 people, and most of the days of the week it's full to capacity. Like that Tuesday there was well over 400, 450 people on a Tuesday. And it's such a wonderful club. The fact that you're even there is kind of awesome because 600 comedians at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, 15 of them get on a Tuesday, and that in and of itself is like a little bit of a feather in your cap. So the lounge has been really wonderful to me. But as far as the shameless self-promotion, when we see people doing it, we almost make fun of them, but not in a mean way. It's not mean-spirited. We're like, oh, look at this guy likes it. But it's on us to promote more. And I will say, so my Instagram and TikTok and everything is extra, like the word extra. For some reason, people just go XTRA when I tell them. So it's EXTRA, like extra. Right. And then Lars, which is my name, so LARS. So I tell people, go to Extra Lars on TikTok or Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Follow me. You will get a follow back immediately, and then just unfollow me. And then you'll have an extra follower.
Yeah. Yeah, but don't unfollow. Don't unfollow Lars. He's fucking funny, bro. Especially your bit about the Hills Hoist.
Yes.
It was relatable. And then you posted up like some reel about it yesterday.
I
didn't watch that reel. I didn't watch the full thing, but I saw the family that you were talking about. The family around the Hills Hoist. I was like, I've never seen that before. I've seen a bunch of bogans around the Hills Hoist, but not a whole family.
Well, and it's when it comes to setup. So when you're setting up a joke, you want to give them the minimum amount of information that they need. You just give them exactly what they need. Yeah. And then the punchline would then be the payoff, the misdirection, whatever it is, the element of surprise for that laugh. Yeah. So when I heard about Goon of Fortune, I first heard of it. I'm like, this is insane. So then I learned a little bit more about it, and I probably started working on the bit, I think it was last year. And it's interesting I just say, like, Australians are the hardest drinking people in the world. If anybody has any doubt, no one else has a game called Goon of Fortune. Now, that joke does not work outside of Australia.
It doesn't?
Does not. So for the international listeners, so a Hills Hoist is like this kind of a square clothesline that you would have in your backyard. And it has a crank that would like open it up, close it. Not all of them, but...
And it rotates.
Yeah. So they hang a wine bag from it, and then they spin it. Everybody gets in a circle, and they spin it. And if it lands in the area you're standing, you'd have to drink some wine. So I say it's like Russian roulette with a Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
So as you're developing the joke, I used to say it's like spin the bottle in the Thunderdome. But then I realized, well, spin the bottle is nobody drinks with spin the bottle. It doesn't make any sense. So the first probably 30, 40 times I told the joke, I was saying spin the bottle, but then I realized that's nonsensical. That's not the connection.
That's like a Q&A thing.
Yeah, it's a dumb comparison. So then I changed it from spin the bottle in the Thunderdome to something else in the Thunderdome. I don't remember. And then I realized, it could be Russian roulette. And then now you want to find the funniest wine. What's the funniest wine? Is a Syrah, a Shiraz, Pinot Grigio. In my mind, it would have to be a white wine. I think drinking red wine in the sun would be terrible.
Yeah.
So as you're trying to, is Pinot Gris funnier than Pinot Grigio? So as you're running the set 100 times, you're changing little tiny tweaks until it's snappy. You know, you want it to be like pow, 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 pow. And that happens eventually, where as you edit, rewrite, tweak, edit, tweak, and then it comes to the version you saw at the Comics Lounge is probably the best version I have done in the times that I've done it. Now it's like, it's finished. It's cooked,
it's
kind
complete.
of. It's almost complete. And there's this comedian in Canada when I first started out. His name's Rob Pugh. So P-U-E, Rob, P-U-E, Rob Pugh.
Yeah.
And I worked with him probably 300 times, and I've probably watched him 500 times. Like, I've seen his comedy a lot. And when I was starting out, I would see him around, you know, at all the shows, and then I watched him a lot when I was in university. I'm older than he is, but he started comedy very young. Mm-hmm. So every time I watched him, he would tweak it. There'd be a new line, the timing would be a little bit changed. So he is never satisfied with, there you go, that bit's finished. It was always improved just a little bit. So I have tried to make that joke work in Canada, talking about, you know, they have this drinking game in Australia and they take this thing and no connection. And with Australians, I would say 95% of Australians, if not more, know as soon as I say Goon of Fortune, it's a laugh. And then I explain it for anybody who doesn't know, and everyone's like, those guys are maniacs. And there's like 20 other ideas. Like, every Australian invention was just because of their drinking culture. I don't think I did the tag of that joke. So Australians invented the black box in an airplane, like the black box.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I said, your pilots were probably so drunk they landed somewhere and went, whoa, I don't even remember getting here. We should probably
record that.
We should probably have a recording of that. So that joke, as you're doing those tiny little tweaks to try and get it to, you know, something that's consistently getting big laughs. Yeah. And that is one of the most fun parts about this, is that creative part of it, and the writing and the performing and the business side of it. I've enjoyed every bit of all of those things.
I love that.
Yeah, and I've always wanted my jokes to read funny.
Right, okay.
There's a comedian named Erwin Barker. I was like 1 year into comedy, and I sent him an email and said, give me some advice. And he was somebody whose jokes read funny.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I said, okay, if I just gave the audience a piece of paper with my jokes on them, would they be funny? I'm not acting them out. I'm not standing behind them and yelling or doing a dance or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You can be a dance around, yell comedian. But I wanted them to read on a piece of paper. And I feel like the majority of the stuff, like with the set that you had been in the audience for, most of that stuff would have read funny. You go, oh, hey, that's actually, that's pretty clever, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the goal when I do something like that.
Yeah.
And I've tried probably 20 times to make that joke work in Canada. Nothing. No connection.
Just don't get it.
I can't paint the picture for them the way that it needs to get the reaction that it gets here. And people go, oh, yeah, you know, I go, I probably have 25 minutes of material that only gets told in Australia because it doesn't work anywhere else. Yeah. It's just that connection of like, there you go.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. That's good. And that's interesting. And you know what? Maybe you could start an import-export business of Hills Hoisters. You know, Hills Hoist, you know, clotheslines, just to make that joke maybe land. But also, you just reminded me to give a shout out to my sponsor Qantas and all the great pilots over there that. No, I'm not sponsored by Qantas.
That'd be a good one to get.
That would be a good one to get. I haven't got a sponsor yet, so you give me ideas. I should approach the Hills Hoist people for at least this episode.
Well, I think with this,
without them,
I might start with spray cans. Spray cans. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Like DuPont. I don't know who you're.
DuPont. Dulux.
Dulux is
there
you
here.
Go. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. But no, it's great. Mate, you've just taken me on a journey. You know what? I brought you something too. I stopped by. Have you been to the Queen Victoria Market before?
Once.
So I stopped by the Queen Victoria Market and picked up some cinnamon scrolls.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to need a napkin for that
Oh, there we go.
because we're going to smash these. Well, at least I'm going to smash mine.
Oh, I might save mine for before the game.
Absolutely. You don't mind if I smash mine, do you?
No, not at all. Goodness. As a matter of fact, I will. One of the things that I really enjoy, and having the Comics Lounge where they can put the stuff on the screen, is really fun. It's enjoyable to be able to show people a bunch of stuff about Canada. And one of the things that I talked about.
Do they do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So because the screen was down, the projector bulb
Oh,
had burnt
that's right.
out. So the bulb had burnt out that day. It's replaced now, but that's funny that one day. So I'll teach your listeners some fun stuff about Canada. So here's
That's
one.
what we want. Fun stuff about Canada.
So there's a town called Churchill, and I didn't talk about it on that set, but so Churchill on a map is northern part of Manitoba, right on the Hudson's Bay.
Bro, that's very far north.
Yeah. So that's how they would have. How they would have got the furs over to England during fur trading days: beaver pelts and mink and fox and all of that. So they would take all by river, then portage some of it, carry them a little bit over land, but mostly by river, and they would get it to there. And Churchill was like a staging point. So they would get all the furs to there. When the ice would melt in the spring, it would get, they would be able to sail them over to England and Europe. They didn't realize when they built the town that they built it on a polar bear migratory route. So twice a year, polar bears migrate through the town of Churchill. You can
Which
go
is
on
wild.
polar bear watching tours. It's like a big thing, so you can go watch. So if you Google polar bear watching tours Churchill, you'll see what the vehicles that they do the watching in. It's pretty cool. So this is the fun fact about the town of Churchill. It is against the law. It is illegal to lock your car doors in Churchill. So if your car is parked
Get the fuck
at
out.
your house, and then I often put it on the
Are you
screen.
kidding?
So the screen, if you Google, is it illegal to lock your car doors? Google will tell you it's true. It's
That's
against
not
the law.
really fair.
Yeah. So if somebody's being chased by a polar bear, they're able to escape into whatever vehicle they're closest to. So it's like an escape route. So I put that on the screen.
Oh. That makes sense. See, my mind is going, now, if a polar bear's coming after you in your car, you're fair game to them.
No.
And the little thing gets its claws in there and just tears you to pieces. That's where my mind went.
Yeah, no, they don't let the bears hunt the people.
Can you tell I'm Australian? That was a very Wolf Creek interpretation of that rule.
You got to give the animals a chance. Make it sporting. So this was one of the pictures that they put up on the Comics Lounge screen for me.
Oh my
when I'm doing a show somewhere, and it's a guy being chased by a polar bear around a vehicle, and then this is usually the one that gets a big laugh, is the polar bear taking a look.
Hide and seek.
Yeah, trying to get around the guy, and so the punchline ended up being, it'd be a good opportunity for a prank, like if you saw somebody getting chased by a polar bear and they were about to get in your car, you could just use your fob and go klook klook, like lock the door on him.
That is a very mean prank. And I think I told this on an episode recently. So Lucy Barnard has been one of my guests, and she's attempting to be the first woman to walk the length of the earth.
Wow.
So started in the bottom of the earth at Ushuaia, like the most southern point of Argentina.
Yep.
Which is called Ushuaia, and walking her way, but then heading not towards Churchill, but heading west to the top of Alaska.
Wow.
To the most walkable part of Alaska.
Sure.
And she was telling me that, this part of the walk gets sketchy because there's polar bears, right? That are, inherently like there.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, yeah, they taught me a rule. Somewhere in North America, some Americans told her a rule, right, about how to identify bears and what to do for each different type of bear. And you would have heard this before, surely. But for my audience, it's if it's brown, lay down.
Mm-hmm.
If it's black, fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's white,
say goodnight.
Yeah. And so that's a pretty mean prank, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
when you're guaranteed death.
Yeah. Polar bears only eat meat. So grizzly bears, black bears, they would also eat berries and, all kinds of foliage. Right. So they're omnivorous, whereas a polar bear is strictly carnivorous. It only eats meat. And a polar bear is the only animal on Earth that will actively hunt a human being.
That's wild.
So a shark usually bites them by accident, or a tiger, it's like opportunity. But a polar bear, if it were to see a human, top of the food chain, it will stalk a human being.
And it's like, I'm coming for you.
Yeah. And for the black, fight back. So black bears are sort of, they're scavengers, sort of. They're really just kind of a nuisance. You know, there are black bear attacks, but not, they're usually pretty scared. So if you just stand up tall and make a noise, most black bears would take off unless there's cubs nearby or unless they were really hungry. A grizzly bear, the brown, so as a grizzly bear, will usually try and claw at your neck and your body. It will go after the vulnerable parts of your body. So if you lay down and you cover your neck with your hands and you tuck yourself in, hopefully you'll be able to protect a part of your neck that would, you know, so that's why it's brown lay down. So you lay down in the fetal position and cover yourself, because it's going to take some swipes at you.
Yeah.
And then a polar bear, because it's looking for food, a polar bear, if you were there, it would eat you.
Despite the fact that we've got the most, you know, venomous killer or whatever it is animals in the world here, I'm kind of glad. You're making me glad.
It's familiarity, though.
Yeah.
So every Canadian that I talk to is like, whoa, what about the snakes and the spiders? And I'm like, well, never mind that. How about the jellyfish and the octopus? So
the ones that you can't see.
Yeah. And when you go up to the Northern Territory, I remember there's crocodiles in the ocean. There's crocodiles, saltwater and freshwater, and there's crocodiles. And then it's either a crocodile or a shark or a jellyfish, so there's no swimming in non-swimming pools in the Northern Territory. And that's what I've heard. I haven't fact checked that, so let me know.
No, in swimming pools. Yeah. Well, in the ocean, definitely. But they can sneak into swimming pools. They've been known to just get into land and just jump into a pool. But yeah, everywhere from far north Queensland, the saltwater crocs. And yeah, you're right. There's the box jellyfish as well, which is causes paralysis.
Yeah.
And I've been stung by a blue bottle before, and that hurt.
Oh.
But it does. You know what to do when you get stung by a jellyfish? You got to pee on yourself.
And is that scientifically proven, or is that just a prank you play on tourists?
No, that's scientifically proven, but it's not because of the urine content. It's because of the warmth of it. Yeah. So does just as good a job to run your hand under warm water. Yeah. But when you're on the beach, how much access to warm water you got? So that's the trick is get it out.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Go or get a stranger.
It is interesting to see that because Canadians are familiar with wolves, we know that they're very rare. Mountain lions are very rare. And when they encroach...
Sorry, what? Mountain lions?
Yeah, mountain lions, yeah.
What the fuck's a mountain lion?
Like a cougar.
Oh, cougar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see them on the streets all the time, but not, not the ones you're thinking of.
So they're really rare. And when they encroach on an area that's habitated, they will often get tranquilized and then taken back out into the wild. So it's really rare. And you kind of know... as a Canadian, because it's something you're familiar with, you're like, oh, it's a black bear, you can probably scare it away, and a grizzly bear, I need to get out of this area. And it's very rare. I mean, grizzly bears are very uncommon. You'd have to be almost at the mountains or at the foothill of the mountains. It's quite uncommon. Black bears are a lot more common, but they're not as dangerous as the other ones. And then a polar bear, you'd have to be incredibly far north, Arctic Circle sort of. They did have a polar bear this week or late last week that showed up in Newfoundland. So they swim forever and ever. So Newfoundland is the northern part of it. So polar bear showed up. But like I said, they would usually tranquilize it and take it somewhere back to where it's safe. So because of the familiarity of all of those animals, because you grew up with them and you saw them or you knew how to deal with them, it always amazes me that Australians would be intimidated by those animals at all. I am blown away by it. And then
same.
Canadians here, they like the funnel web spider or and I've had Australians comment on some of my social media stuff saying I've lived in Australia for 55 years and I've never seen a venomous snake. I've never seen, they've never seen something like that. So if you're in the city areas, it's pretty rare. Yeah. And the effectiveness of anti-venom and how they keep it on hand for, fairly close by in most places. How many people get killed a year by like spiders and snakes in Australia, it's like 0. Like I don't even think it's 1. Like I think I read, and I should just Google this, the number of people that have been killed by like a spider or a snake in Australia is like 2 or 3 in the past 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's that.
That's
Yeah,
let's
let's Google it.
Let's Google it. Jamie, pull it up, Jamie. I'm not sure Jamie heard me there.
How many people have died from a snake or a spider in Australia in the past 10 years? In Australia, there have been no reported deaths from spider bites in the past 10 years.
Really?
And only a few deaths from snake bites. In the past 20 years, there have been 27 snake bite deaths.
That's wild.
Yeah. So since 2000, so it's been 25 years. So it's basically 1 a year, which again is not, but there's probably sort of an equal number of people killed by bears. And our populations are similar. The population of Canada is 40 million now. So it's similar populations. So it's incredibly rare. So I think most Canadians would be very surprised to learn that not that many people are killed by snakes and spiders, like 1 a year in the whole country.
I'm disappointed that you're not dressed in like a Steve Irwin-esque safari kind of looking outfit for this conversation, you know, because it would totally make sense.
There's probably a filter somewhere.
Yeah, I'll stick it on you. But yeah, okay, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I've seen a funnel web before. That thing will fuck you up. Like, Google this. How many people have been fucked up by these? No. because death is pretty extreme, but I can guarantee you, if you've been bitten by one of those things, like you're in strife. And for some people, they might never be the same again after being bitten by one of those animals. Like it can cause paralysis. It can kind of just like warp you, demean you, even scare the hell out of you. Your life will change in some way.
Yeah.
But maybe not death.
Yeah, and the same with bears. Like there's people who've been, survived bear attacks, and you're not 100% coming out the other side.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're like, oh, cover your neck when the brown bear comes. I'm like, dude, please. It's just clawing at your back, ripping up vertebrae.
Yeah. The one moment and again, it would be so rare. Canadians often don't go where grizzly bears are. But the few times in my life when you see a grizzly bear with a cub, that's when you're like, oh, no. Yeah, like this is like the worst thing that could happen was to be in between a mother and a cub. That is like the absolute moment where you're like, no.
Barney.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'm learning a lot about Canada and wildlife today.
Yeah, I'm an unofficial ambassador for Canada.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, what's your role as an ambassador? Is it to scare the shit out of people so they don't go there? Is that kind of is that what they've paid you for?
Well, it's one of those things where the curious will show up, especially Australians. They're kind of fearless.
Yeah, well, you tell someone not to do something, they're going. They're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And this thing that I talked about at the end of my set, because we didn't have the screen working at the Comics Lounge, I talked about this thing where there's a shot in Canada. So there is, in the northern part of Canada, the Yukon, there was a gold rush in 1898, 1899. It was in a place called Dawson City, so very close to Alaska, almost right on the Alaska border, but on the Yukon side, on the Canadian side. So if you get really cold, you get frostbite. And what happens when you get frostbite is your body will take all the blood and all the warmth and keep it in your core to keep you alive. So your fingers and toes will your extremities.
This rings a bell, this story.
Yeah, will be the first to freeze. So your fingers and toes will fall off, but it's to try and keep you alive.
It's actually an educational set, your set, by the way. I'm just sorry to interrupt, but as you were.
Well, hopefully and funny. It's nice if you can educate and get them to laugh. It's like people leave like,
you
well,
do
that was
both.
educational.
You do both.
I hope so. So when somebody were to lose a toe from frostbite, they can donate it to a bar in the Yukon in Dawson City, and there's something called the sour toe cocktail. So the sour toe cocktail in Dawson City, there's a toe captain, and you say, I'd like to do the sour toe cocktail, and they bring out a toe like almost in a ceremonious way, and the toe captain, and they take the toe out of a pickle jar. So it's been approved by our food people in Canada.
Which is wild.
Yep, and then they put the toe in whatever you want to drink. So whiskey, Jägermeister, vodka, whatever you want to shoot, and then this was the picture. So they then do the shot, and doing it with the toe captain, you have to touch the toe to your lips, and then you get a certificate saying,
I could do that bit.
I did the sour toe cocktail. So it's 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 like ceremonious, and the fine used to be a lot smaller. It was like $250 if you swallowed the toe, and then too many people were swallowing the toe, and then it got up to like $500, and then $1,000, and then now it's $2,500 if you swallow the toe.
How are people swallowing
I don't know.
the toe?
Yeah.
Like it's okay. I'm trying to think of the logistics of swallowing a toe. Firstly, it's quite large. A toe isn't a small thing.
Yeah.
I can imagine it's got a nail still attached to it. Maybe the nail's softened up by being in some kind of liquid.
Yeah.
Am I thinking about this way too much?
Well, the punchline to that, it's funny, man, when something comes to you where you're like, when a line comes to you after you've had,
Yeah.
you're busting balls with somebody, and then the next day you go, oh, that's... So one of the jokes I tell is the use of the C word. I go, you can't use it in Canada. So I go, I think now coming to Australia for 10 years, I know almost all of the C words. You want to be a good one or a funny one. You don't want to be a dumb one or a shit one. And I go, a mad one you think would be bad, but a mad one's good like 99% of the time.
Yeah, he's mad.
Yeah. And then a sick one, you want to listen for tone. Like, that's an inflection
That's
based.
true. He's a sick. He's a sick.
So it's very tone based. So it's inflection. So then I realize at the end of my set, I say, would you like to guess the nationality that has swallowed the most toes? I actually don't know the answer to it. So this is an embellishment, a fabrication.
Right.
I
thought it was another fact.
Yeah, no, it's not, but it might be. I haven't even looked into it. So I asked the Australian audiences, would you like to guess the nationality that has swallowed the most toes? And I was like, Australia. And then you're like, you sick.
You sick. You sick. That's a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were saying it about, or you sick?
Yeah. Either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
Take it as you will.
Yeah. So it's funny to have something like that. It's called a callback. So in that moment when you go, oh, it was right there. Like I probably did 10 shows where I didn't even think about tying those two things together, a little bow at the end. And I was like, oh yeah, it's right there. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Sometimes I've been to a comedian's show before, and I was like, that joke that you told earlier, you can tie it in with that other one. And he was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. So yeah, that's pretty funny. I like when comedians do that. How many times have you been to Australia, man?
So 2015 I started coming here, and I was here every year. I was here for 11 days during 2020, so I didn't get to do a full tour then because of COVID.
Right. Okay.
Couldn't come in 2021, and then was finally able to come back in 2022. Because the Exford After Party at the Exford Hotel is one of my favorite shows in the world.
I should come to that.
You have to. It is pandemonium. It is chaos. It is...
Should I come tonight?
Yeah. This is the early one. Sunday's like a nice one to come to.
Really?
It's free.
Nice.
Yep. So it starts at 8 o'clock on Sundays. So the guy who hosts it is Chris Franklin, like the artist who wrote and sang the song Bloke.
Right. Can you please?
Yeah. So,
Can we do it together? Can we sing it together?
Sure. I'm a bloke, I'm a yobbo, and me best mate's name is Robbo. Winfield is me cigarette. I dress in flannelette. Shearer singlet that is blue. Throw in a few tattoos and know you wouldn't want it any other way.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
Yeah. So
That took me back to when I was like 15.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't believe you did that.
I probably, because I've performed with him 500 times.
I cannot believe that, man. That
Yeah.
song is that's an Australian classic.
Oh yeah. It was named one of the top 100 number one hits in the history of Australia.
That deserves to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it went to number one. It was just short of going double platinum, the song Bloke. And he is ARIA nominated. It is a really, I say to Canadians, it's similar to the good old hockey song for Canadians. So if you said to a
What's
Canadian, do you know the good old hockey song?
What is that?
The good old hockey song is the best game. So I'll play it for you, or we can, it'll get taken down, actually. We can't play it.
We can't. We'll just link it.
Yeah.
We'll link it in the bio.
So the good old hockey song is like this iconic Canadiana, and every Canadian knows the song. Every Canadian would know the song. So when I talk to an Australian and I go, do you know who Chris Franklin is? And they go, no. And I go, do you know the song Bloke? And they go, of course I know the song Bloke. So that's who hosts the Exford After Party for 25 days in a row.
You're kidding.
At the comedy festival. And this is, if you go to the Exford After Party during the Melbourne Comedy Festival, he only sings the song 2 or 3 times throughout the whole festival.
All right, okay.
If
so
a
you
crowd
gotta be
is
there.
Well, it's more
random.
It's more that the crowd is like super lovely, because it's like he's really giving an opportunity for all the other comedians. He's setting everybody up to look great. He's doing a really, such a wonderful job of making everybody else look good. It almost steals some of the thunder, I think, but it doesn't. Everybody's very excited when he does it. So it's kind of like a treat at the end. He'll go, this audience was so great, I'll sing the song for him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't often sing it in Canada because people don't know it. But when I tour the road with him here, it's the closer. It's, it's the climax of the show. It's the crescendo. So it's amazing. And I love when people who don't recognize him, they hear him singing it and they think a comedian is just singing the song. Like they're like, oh, this guy's singing Bloke. And then you see them have a moment where they're like, wait a minute. And they realize that's the guy. And it's such a funny moment to watch the realization, because they just think somebody's just singing it. And then they go, oh, no, the singer is singing it, which is such a great moment for me to watch as somebody who, saw it for the first time 10 years ago and then see the effect that he has.
You only saw it for the first time 10 years ago?
Canadians would have never heard that song.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That was such a huge hit here. Like,
yeah.
I just remember being a kid and that song came on the radio and we were just beside ourselves. Because for those that don't know, that it basically piggybacked the music and the sort of the structure and the music of another famous song of the time, which was
Meredith Brooks' Bitch.
And that one goes, I'm a bitch, I'm a mother, I'm a child, I'm a lover, something like that. I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. And that was a huge hit as well of its time. And then a few years later, Bloke comes out and we're like, hang on, where have we heard this musical style before? But then the lyrics are different. They're sung by a bloke and it's Aussie as fuck.
Yeah. It's truly, in the lexicon, in the ethos of Australian things, that song is one of the most iconic things. So to let you people, your listeners know, I mean, Chris Franklin will do your podcast. He lives in Tasmania now, but
Chris.
Yeah, he's here. He is one of the nicest, most genuine human beings you will ever meet.
Which is great.
He is kind to everybody. He is supportive. And you see somebody he just turned 60. He had his birthday in Canada. He had one here too, but he was in Canada when he turned 60.
Nice.
And you have this 60-year-old guy who is from Frankston. He's originally grew up in Crib Point. So he's sort of somebody who you think would be a real redneck, like not
like a bogan.
Not a more, people would think he would be more redneck. Bogan doesn't always have that racist-y connotation with it. So the redneck, most of the time a redneck wouldn't ever have like, oh, that guy's a bogan, which is like sort of.
Thank you for clarifying.
More gentle, like as far as what it is. So you would think that Chris Franklin would be rednecky. He's not at all. Inclusive, I mean, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but an ally, like absolutely supportive of all of the communities. When it comes to races and cultures, he is so incredibly respectful of all of those things. It's just one of the best human beings you'll ever meet, but also somebody that has been stabbed 3 times. And, here's somebody who's as tough as they come, but as a 60-year-old guy, just inclusive and kind and respectful and thoughtful. He's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And that song, when you see, like, when we're on the road, he gets recognized all the time.
Which is wild.
They're like, oh my God, they're like, it's you. I knew it was you. And people see. So that, when you're talking about how huge that was, here's how big the song Bloke was. The song Bloke made, so Meredith Brooks would get, when she didn't do the writing of the music, so there was actually somebody who wrote the music.
Right.
So the person who made money from the music, I don't know who the author of the music was, somebody'd have to look that up, has made more money in Australia off Bloke than she has off bitch, because she would have still got the royalties from the music part of it. And she's made more from bloke than she did from bitch
Which is
in Australia.
wild.
Yeah, because it was a huge hit. It was like,
Yep. I mean, I just want to, I'll go back. That Meredith Brooks, that was a huge hit already.
Yeah.
Imagine being the writer of that song and doubling up. And and the Meredith Brooks one was like, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years earlier, like just from memory.
sure, yeah, I think you're right.
And so, as a songwriter, as a music writer, yep, wrote that, got that hit, bang, finished, done, cool, whatever, royalties for a long time. They'll probably teeter out and die off as time progresses. And then someone piggybacks and just picks it back up and turns it into an even bigger hit.
Yeah, for in another country, yeah. Like a parody of it using your music. And I'll let him tell you the story. I'll paraphrase. They had to get the writer of the music's permission to use the music, and she didn't want to give it to them for the parody. So
she didn't?
They went to England and basically said, hey, we think this is going to be something that's going to be really big. We'd really love to do this. And they finally convinced her to give the rights of the music.
Oh, because that's where she was based?
I believe so.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And again,
Okay.
my memory of hearing the story, that's what it was. So they had to go and ask for it.
Yeah.
And she finally said, yeah. And then now it's made her more money with the parody than the original in Australia.
Oh, dude, yes. But you know what I love most about this is that you love this. That you, a Canadian comedian, and bloke is just, you've managed to meet this guy, befriend him, and then, carry on the legacy of the story, I suppose.
Yeah, and hearing what you say, like being 15 when that song came out would be perfect. Almost everybody discovers Weird Al when they're 13 or 14.
We didn't have, so for context, when I was 15, we didn't have smartphones back then. It was 99, 2000 we're talking, right? And so no smartphones, so the things that you saw on your media was through commercial radio, which everyone's listening to,
Yep.
and commercial television, which everyone's watching, because we're not watching YouTube. YouTube wasn't even invented yet. TikTok wasn't around. You didn't even have an iPhone yet. This is like 8 years before the smart iPhone was invented.
Yeah.
So, like when something was big, it was enormous because that's all everyone was watching.
It was so singular. It was laser focused on when something, and then everybody knew. And I think being 15 at that time is so perfect because that would have spoken to you. There's a funny comedian. He moved to England, but he's from Melbourne. His name's Aidan Pine, and Aidan Pine was telling me that in order to sit in the back of the bus with like the cool kids when he was in high school, you had to know every lyric of the song Bloke. So it was like a rite of passage, like it was your key to get in. Okay, you want to come sit with us? You have to be able to recite every lyric of the song Bloke, and then you could do it. Like, oh no, you messed it up. Back to the front of the bus with
you.
So
good.
And that time period that you're speaking of, before smartphones, before social media, it was when it was big. Like somebody got a bootleg copy of Andrew Dice Clay. Everybody wanted to see Andrew Dice Clay, and we were just a little too young to be so we'd have to sneak and go and watch in somebody's basement Andrew Dice Clay or Eddie Murphy Raw, and everybody was a part of that little snippet, that snapshot of time. Everybody in 2000, 2001 was a part of that song. So that for 2 or 3 years was this massive thing, and has really become a part of the Australian kind of landscape. It's a part of the furniture, Oh yeah, Bloke. Of course I do. And I like to ask Australians, I go, do you know the song Bloke? And their reaction to me is hilarious, because they go, of course I do. Like they're like, what are you talking? Yeah. It's like asking if they know the national anthem.
I feel slightly embarrassed that I had to think for about 3 seconds before I was like, yeah. I think it was the bewilderment that I've got a Canadian talking to me about that song that sort of made me, caused the delay. But that's awesome. It's really funny. Very wild.
We went to your show yesterday.
Oh yeah, you pop over and say hi. We're live, so you guys can come say hi. Which show were you guys at? The 10. Oh.
Or the 5 comedians for 25.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I did 8 shows yesterday. So yeah, it was good, right? And like, yeah, we just talked about that. So I showed. Did you guys look up the picture? It's so funny.
Show him the picture.
Yeah. So actually, I was just showing him. So that's the
Yeah.
sourdough cocktail.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's there was one guy who was the sourdough captain for a really long time, and I believe that there's now a new sourdough captain, and I think that there might be 2, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I haven't done it. I will, but man, that seems like ugh.
You have to have a lot of shots in before you're in.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I'd have to be pretty smashed before swallowing that toe.
Are you guys seeing a show today? What's that? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yes, I get to go to a rugby league game, and then there's one show, and then there's the Exford after party at 9:00. So there's a show every night at 9:00 that's free. So, but Sydney's amazing. We were just saying that this podcast, doing it in yeah. You know what I like? If you, as somebody not from Australia, if you make fun of another part of Australia, the crowd will turn on you. So if I'm in Melbourne and I make fun of Sydney, the audience is like, nope, we can make fun of Sydney. You can't make fun of Sydney. Everybody can make fun of Adelaide, but that hurts my feelings a little bit.
But I also love the Bondi to Fuji reference.
Yeah, isn't that the worst thing in the world?
Oh, yeah.
We tried to do it, but I broke my leg.
Yeah, because it's awful. Like, why would anybody do?
She was like, let's head home with the bus.
Yeah, that's what you should do. And so I talk about how much I hate hiking. I hate hiking so much. And when I did that walk, I was like, we should not do this. Like, why would there should be a golf cart? There should be like one of those little sleds, in Germany or Switzerland where they have a sled that you can get on this little sled thing and it rides you down on a rail. They should have that for that walk where you can go like, oh yeah, I did it. But
But you must admit that the views are amazing.
yeah, but most of those pictures are online.
Hey, thanks
Take
for
care,
saying hi. Take care. Good on you. That's so cool that you just got recognized.
Yeah, I performed for half of Melbourne last night.
Yeah. 8 shows. That's enormous. I just messed with the camera and everything, but so
You got it
apologies
where
for
you need
that.
it? Oh no, it was good. It was good to see the people who.
It's a full-blown tourist attraction now.
Yeah, you're gonna be bigger than the lane.
Well, I doubt that, to be honest. Unless I make it into TripAdvisor's top 9
Yeah,
destinations.
yeah. Get above them.
Someone actually recommended that to me yesterday. You should put yourself on tourist things. And Lucy Barnard, the woman I told you, well, she had to renew her visa for the States, so she had to come back home to do that. And we took the opportunity to do one here, which was our second podcast together. And she tried to add this to Google Maps.
Well, that's hilarious.
Yeah, she tried to add it to. I don't know if it was successful. I haven't even bothered looking it up yet, but yeah, I should check that out. She's tried to actually add it and I'm like, that's a bit cheeky.
Yeah,
But or I need all the exposure I can get.
it's amazing that like one of those things tipping like that
Yeah.
is perfect.
Well, it's fun. Like I said, this is. I think the reason I really enjoy this location is because of this.
Yeah,
And you're not the first person that's been spotted by randos walking past. She was actually spotted by randos, but after we stopped the recording, and then Ashley Fees and me,
yep,
he was spotted here,
yeah,
and so like people walking past, it's like, actively going and seeing shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the crowd that's walking through here, they're partaking in Melbourne's things to do.
yeah.
And they're seeing you guys and they're stopping and saying hi, which is just, I love that for you,
Yeah, the first time it ever happened, so 21 years I've been doing it. The first time it happened, a person went, "How do I know you?" And I went, "Where did you go to high school?" And they go, "Here." And I, okay, no. "Where did you used to work?" No. and we were like going through, okay, where do you hang? Like, do you ever? And the person finally went, oh, you're the comedian. So there's this interesting thing where they look at your face. Let's say you did 45 minutes as a headliner. They look at your face for 45 minutes. So when they see you outside of a comedy club, there's no context, but they recognize your face more than they should. So because they've looked at your face for 45 minutes, then when they see you, they go, oh man, how do I know this person? Because you're not in a comedy club. So now, after that first experience many years ago, when people come up and they go, how do I know you? And I go, have you been to a comedy show recently? And they go, oh, you're the comedian. And I was like,
It's funny because I've been chatting to so many comedians through this, and I'll go to the comics lounge and stuff, and I'm just not used to it yet. Like, someone will be there kind of like, from about 5 or 6 meters away, kind of just staring at me. And I'm like, what the fuck's this bloke staring at? You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm like, probably spent like 2 hours watching one of my episodes.
Yeah.
I should be grateful that I'm being stared at right now.
But they're trying to place it because
they're trying to place
how
it.
Do I How do I know
this guy? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How do I know this person's face?
Oh man, I'm so glad you showed them that toe and that they squirmed and not just me.
It's brilliantly terrible. It is like, and the fact that it's a donated toe, like somebody had lost it, and then I think for the most part the same toe would be used for some like the time, and I think that's a perfect example. I would never want to make an audience feel misled. I want it to be fact-based, and I want it to be verifiable. I want them to be able to. So when they're like, they were mentioning, like, it's crazy that Australians are the ones, and I'm like, like, if they see this episode, they're going to be like, he duped us. Like,
definitely Germans. It was definitely Germans that eat the most toes. Indians, definitely Indians.
Yeah.
You just change it every country you go to.
Yeah.
Where are you doing comedy? You do comedy in what's that country between Spain and France? Andorra.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
sure.
it's definitely Andorrans that eat the most toes. There's probably like 600 people born there a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. What do you think of that mannequin thing up there, by the way?
That's
that is art.
That's
artistic.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it, just going, I admire the person that's gone through that trouble.
It's
like to source the mannequin and then to bring it here.
It's such a cool area, and I love. There's in Seattle. There's this famous. It's the Gum Wall. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Gum Wall.
I've heard of the Gum Wall, but I didn't know it was in Seattle.
Yep. And this is very similar to that portion of it. There's not graffiti.
That's so Seattle, by the way.
Yeah.
It's grunge. It's grunge as hell.
Grunge. There's a theater right next, like if the Gum Wall is there, then right next to it, there's a little theater that we've done a few shows in.
Right.
So it's like performed. I should look up the name of the theater, but I've been pretty lucky. 2008, I started performing in Seattle and have probably done, 50 or 60 shows in Seattle and Washington State.
Yeah. Well, take us through your comedy journey. Like, when did you, like, what the hell? Yeah, you know what I mean? When did you become compelled to do stand-up? What was it?
I was 6 years old when I heard my first street joke, and I remember thinking it was so magical.
Yeah.
And I started memorizing street jokes as a kid.
What's a street joke?
So two guys walk into a bar, as you were a kid, you were like, what's the first thing that goes through a bug's mind when he hits the windshield? His rear end. You're 6 years old and you're telling these. So each year my parents would buy me a joke book and I would memorize all the jokes. I was probably 9 or 10 when I really started collecting joke books. I loved jokes so much because there was this, I remember in the movie, there was a Tarantino movie, Dusk Till Dawn.
I love that movie.
So there's a street joke in it, and he tells it wrong. So because
he does?
So the street joke.
Is that intentional, or do you just know that?
I know that. Yeah. So it was a version of it. I mean, street jokes will morph over time. They will evolve. They get told differently in different parts of the world. So because I just collected street jokes, between 5,000 and 10,000 street jokes that I memorized.
Memorize these?
Mm-hmm.
That's a skill, bro.
That's
a Guinness World Record.
Man, there's some people that are like, there's some street guys in New York who who that's how they're hustle. Like, hey, you want to hear a joke? What do you hear another joke about? But I loved collecting them. And then when I was 13 or 14, A&E's Evening at the Improv came on. So A&E's Evening at the Improv was at the Improv Comedy Club. So Arts and Entertainment was a channel on cable. We didn't have cable when I was a kid, but my parents were musicians, so when we were in a hotel sometimes, we'd have cable in the hotel, and if there was A&E, I would be glued to the television. Like, we didn't have a VCR, you just had to watch it. And I would just watch the comedians, and I could watch a comedian and memorize their set watching it one time.
Yeah, wow.
So I could just recite the whole set just watching them one time, because it's formulaic, you know, it's like the same formula and pieces get put together. I remember seeing this comedian, and I didn't know who it was. I'd memorized it and acted like, hey, here's my joke. I'm like 14 years old.
Yeah.
So it was, he goes, does anybody know what the record is for the most points scored in an NBA game? And the record is 100 by Wilt Chamberlain. So Wilt Chamberlain once scored 100 points in a single NBA game. And this is, a comedian goes, this is my impression of the opposing team's coach during a timeout. Hey, who's covering Wilt? You might want to stick a little closer. And then he goes, this is my impression of Wilt's team during the same timeout. Hey, Wilt, I'm open. It's like, my family drove 3 hours to see me. He's like, you got 97 points, and Ted has 3 because you banked one in off his head. He's like, I'm open. So it was the comedian who told it was Adam Sandler. It was an Adam Sandler.
Oh, really?
bit.
Cool.
This was when he was in his early 20s.
Oh, Adam Sandler was so good when he was young.
Oh, yeah, and still, like, I mean,
he's, of course.
Yeah, a lot more prolific as an actor as far as range. But when he was writing music and when he was Saturday Night Live and all of his CDs, like, again, that goes back to kind of the time when you'd get an Adam Sandler CD and you would just play it until it was almost worn out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was from that time before smartphones as well, where, you know, access to that kind of material was more limited.
Yeah.
So when you found something groundbreaking, you just played the shit out of it.
Yeah. And it's funny, I had the pleasure of working a few times with Jeff Foxworthy. When I was opening for Jeff Foxworthy in Edmonton, one of my friends, Glenn, came to the show, and he goes, remember that Jeff Foxworthy cassette we used to have? And it just all came flooding back. We listened to this Jeff Foxworthy cassette 200 or 300 times, like so many times. And I go back to Jeff Foxworthy, and I'm like, hey, normally I wouldn't do a comedian's material to them. I go, man, I had a cassette of yours. And I go, it's one of the funniest things I ever heard. He goes, this guy comes, he's like, hey, you haven't made a payment on your Trans Am. He's, 20 years old or whatever. We're going to have to repossess the car. And he's like, yeah, okay. And they go, unless you can give us $500 and then, you're caught up on your payments. And he goes, $500? Who keeps $500 around? And they go, could you write us a check? And he goes, no, I can't. A check? Yeah, I can write you a check. I thought you wanted money. And this whole album, I could probably recite the whole thing. And I'm doing it to Jeff Foxworthy, but we're both gut laughing. He's like, that actually happened. Like, I'm doing this cassette to the guy who I had listened, and I had completely forgotten about it until a friend of mine went like, yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's such a journey. So you started young.
I was 26, so I'm 49 now.
Right. Fuck, you look good for 49.
Thanks. It's all the Australian beer.
Moisturize.
Yeah, your beer gets me, man.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's funny because I don't drink before shows. Like I won't even have one before shows.
That's good. That's smart.
But after, oof, and it's like you can't outdrink Australians. You can't. And to anybody from around the world, you come here for 3 months and just go to a pub. There's no last call in most places. Like you're sitting there and it's like, what, 4 a.m.? Shouldn't they be cutting us off? Why are we still drinking?
Yeah. Yes, I know. I've been to some of those places. Yeah, they just go all night.
Yep. And
it's okay. You just get kicked out if you're too rowdy.
Yep. Yeah. Behave yourself. And
I mean, the publicans like money here.
Yeah. It's so funny. I try not to adopt too many Australian words because I think it sounds really pretentious when somebody who's not of that, if you're French, if you're like, I will pronounce it Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I pronounce it Melbourne because that's how it's spelled, and I'm a Canadian,
And that's how you should say
and
it.
that's how I feel Canadians should
You don't say Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like me. Melbourne.
which is, if you live here, that's
That's how you
how
say it.
you would say it. So I I don't shorten words, and I have a
Oh, you don't?
big nope.
Yeah.
And Canadians don't at all.
Oh, okay.
So I have never in my life heard a Canadian say uni, university, in its entirety, every syllable, every time.
Yeah.
Breakfast, every time.
It's a cut to the
Afternoon.
chase kind of thing.
Yeah.
Brekkie, fucking, hurry up and spit it out.
Right. And so the theory that I have, and I've used it on stage, is I think Australians have better places to be.
Yes.
So Australians have tens of thousands of beaches. They have pubs. They have barbecues. They have places to go. So they don't have time for full words.
Yeah.
That's why you guys use the C word as this one syllable. I gotta go. I can use this word as a catch-all. You will know by the tone how I'm using it.
Long distances to travel.
Yeah, I gotta get to a beach. I'm gonna, I got more fun things to do. And in Canada, it's so cold all the time. We will say, "Would you like to go for breakfast?"
Yeah.
Near the university, we will just say, and I think there's
And I'm like,
like tradesperson. We will say tradesman.
Yeah.
Every time, and
yeah, it's,
there is one. I mean, there's lots of so for my North American friends, if you say truck in Australia,
yeah, right. Yeah.
a truck paints an image of a semi truck, like a big
yeah,
truck.
that's a
so
truck.
They don't use the word truck the way we do in North America. So a truck is something huge for hauling things.
Yeah.
Like 18-wheeler would be a truck.
Yeah.
And then like pickup truck would be a ute.
Yeah.
It's a utility
Yeah.
vehicle. So they call it you get your ute and help your friend move. And I've never used that word in a sentence ever. And I
But you should
I
try it. Live a little. Eh?
let loose, let your hair down.
Yeah. Get yourself a Southern Cross tattoo.
Yeah. I saw it. So I've always had a hard time picking it out, and I saw it the other day definitively. I
On
was
someone's neck?
no, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I've definitely seen that.
You're kidding.
No. I thought in the sky, I was coming home after a gig.
You mean the stars?
Yeah,
The actual
the
Southern
actual
Cross.
Southern Cross. Yeah, and
I thought you were like the tattoo.
No.
I saw one the other day.
no, I've
It's like-
seen a million.
That's on the TripAdvisor's top 10 things to see in Australia.
Yeah,
An
neck-
Australian with a Southern
Yeah.
Cross tattoo on their neck.
Yeah, neck tattoo. So I'll
You're
for our
you're likely to find that up in Queensland. Definitely up in Queensland.
oh yeah.
The land of the Southern Cross tattoo.
And I had the pleasure. I'll talk about a little bit about the tour. So Chris Franklin is taking us to a Melbourne Storm game, and I will just read. Good morning, all. Just a reminder, we're meeting in the hotel foyer at 12:30. Lars has a podcast, so he will meet us down there. Give me a time, fella.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I know how important it is
yeah.
because I was like, I do set like 2 hours aside for these recordings, but I mean, it's been working quite well, because the time passes really quick. Firstly, the location's fun. We get interruptions. We have food. And then we sort of warm up. Sometimes my guests never met me before, so it takes like 15 minutes to warm up. Most of the time, by the end of the 2 hours, we're like buddies. We're like besties. We're like, oh, mate, when can we catch up again? But that's not really going to be able to happen. I will come tonight. I wasn't going to, but I will come tonight.
Yeah. 8 o'clock is a good one. And Saturday.
Is it 9 o'clock?
Oh, wait. Is
Sunday.
it 8 o'clock Sunday? I think it's 8. I'm pretty sure. I'll
And
have
how
to
long
look it
does
up.
it go for?
Usually about 2 hours.
Yeah, right. Because I was thinking of doing Shane Hunt. Yeah, it's okay to take a picture. As long as you tag me. Make sure you tag me.
So
Yeah, Shane Hunter's doing like a true crime walking tour.
Oh,
he's
cool.
a comedian.
yeah,
as well.
I know Shane Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a true crime walking tour at 7:30.
Oh wow.
So I was going to be like, can I do the
Oh
tour?
yeah, you can rock up to the Exford at any point. You can just roll in there after.
Yeah, sick.
And it's that was intimidating sounding.
Yeah, we're doing the jets here now. We're just doing just random jets,
Flyover?
flybys. Yeah,
Sure.
flyby.
so-
What do they call it in
Yeah, they
Top
call it
Gun?
Oh,
Flyby.
oh yeah. When he buzzed
Buzzed the
the
tower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
So I will tell you a couple of my favorite comedians from Australia.
Right.
So
yes.
I will give.
That's what I wanted. I want to know who your favorites are. International as well as
Sure.
Aussies.
Yeah, probably one of my favorites to watch is Rob Pugh. So if people want to go see somebody whose writing is, constantly evolved, like he just tweaks, polishes. He's an incredible performer. I did a show once in Adelaide where I had to do 45 minutes, and then there was a break.
Adelaide.
Yep. And then there was somebody else doing 45 minutes.
No things happened over there.
Yeah, it was. So I do the first 45 minutes. There's a comedian named Wayne Deacon. Wayne Deacon's incredibly funny, and he
Aussie.
goes, "Oh
Aussie.
yeah, yep." And he goes, Wayne Deacon is so funny. He goes, "They shut this. They shut everything down at 8. We call that doing an Adelaide." Oh, that's pretty funny, Wayne Deacon.
Yeah.
So. I do 45 minutes. It's a Saturday night. Most crowds on Saturdays are pretty hot. Like, they're great. So I have a set. At this point, I'd probably been doing comedy 16 or 17 years. And I would put it at the top end of like how I've done. And I walk off stage and I'm like, I don't know who's coming to do the next 45 minutes, but good fucking
Big
luck.
shoes to fill.
Like,
hard act to follow.
good luck. So this guy comes in who I've never met. In 3 minutes flat, he had dusted me off. He had made them forget I ever existed. I watched this guy crush for 45 minutes on a level that I've probably only seen a dozen times.
That's incredible.
In my life. Mickey D is his name.
Mickey D?
Mickey D from Adelaide. Mickey D he runs a thing called, it's PHAT in the Adelaide, it's Fat Cave. So instead of the Bat Cave, it's Fat Cave.
Fat Cave.
Fat Cave, spelled PHAT. So Mickey D is also a world record holder. He did the highest ever comedy show. He did a comedy show at Everest Base Camp.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So I believe his Instagram is Adventure Comedian or Adventure Comic. So just look up Mickey D and then Adventure
Mickey D.
Dude is so funny. It like makes you. And then one of the people I recommend who you'll definitely be familiar with is Luke Hagee. And Luke Hagee,
it rings a bell, but
he's popped into the Exford last night and did a set, and his comedic mind is so amazing. His comedic mind, you're just watching this like I don't even
just intellectual.
Yeah, just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Chris Franklin is a hell of a comedian. I have had him at wineries and corporate shows and university shows and bar shows and backyard shows, and you name it, Chris Franklin can do it.
So are you pro? Are you a professional comedian now? Or?
It's been my job for 15 years.
That's wild.
So I had a day job 2003 to 2009, and then Canada Day, which is July 1st. So Canada Day 2009 was the last time I ever got paid for anything other than comedy.
That's so good, man.
Yeah, you get paid for like a little bit of acting stuff, but I'm a terrible actor, so.
Yeah.
And then, but outside of like the world of entertainment,
for sure.
It'll be 16 years in July that this has been my job.
So 16 years, 40, 33. So it was 7 years.
Yeah.
Between starting and going professional.
Yeah, about 6 years. So May of 2003, I started. July of 2009, I went pro.
Yeah, wow.
And my boss at the time was so amazing. I worked for a power company, electricity company. And I went to my boss and I was like, I need some time off without pay. He's like, we can't give it to you. I go, oh, here's my 2 weeks notice. And he goes, if you work for 3 weeks, he's like, you get paid for Canada Day and you don't have to work it. So you get a free day if you go, I'm working until this time. And I was like, okay. So Canada Day, it was like a stat holiday. So I got paid for Canada Day, but didn't work it. So really June 30th would have been my last day ever.
That's a hell of a
working.
You have an incredible memory. That's what I'm kind of learning about you. You just remember stuff. You're like the Rain Man of comedy.
That's going to be on my bio. I'm going to quote you. You're like, quotation, the Rain Man of comedy.
Yeah, because the fact that you remembered 5,000 street jokes and like the dates of everything. But I was thinking the same. I was like, damn, it's pretty warm for April. And I was like, but then all the climate change people are going to try and tell us that it's the hottest year ever because of these 2 days. But I'm like, I remember on sometime in May in 2019, it was like 29 degrees. And I remember on the 12th of March, 1998, it was 38 degrees. And I was like, fuck, am I the Rain Man? Or
So, and this is, I would never make fun of this. I'm not making, there's no jest here. So to say that a lot of comedians are on the spectrum, to say that,
oh, yeah.
and
But that's a known fact.
yes. And when Chris Franklin and I toured together, Chris Franklin really, he just cares about everybody else having a good time. Like he's not motivated by anything other than just
Of course.
having
That's great.
having a great time. And I think that's one of the reasons that we connected, because all I want to do is do shows.
Yeah.
If I can come to the Melbourne Comedy Festival and do 100 shows in 25 days, I'm happy as a clam.
You're wild, bro.
Yeah, it's
100 shows?
Yeah, but there's people that do way more than that. There's people that like between the Perth Fringe World, they'll do 25 days there.
That's like Feb or something, isn't it?
January, yeah.
Right.
And then February is Adelaide.
Yeah, and then March.
And then March is
So
Melbourne.
you sort of make your way from west to east.
Yeah, and I don't do the other two festivals, but I do those other cities. So I'll do this festival, and then I'll do Tasmania for 2 weeks, and then I'll do like Brisbane and Adelaide and Perth. It's also beautiful. I really do love it. Adelaide reminds me a lot of my like Edmonton, my hometown. Adelaide and Edmonton, same population, same kind of great art scene in the middle of nowhere. Kind of this flyover city that everybody makes fun of. Like Edmonton and Adelaide, I feel Melbourne's my favorite city, but I have like kind of a connection to Adelaide and affection for it because it reminds me so much of Edmonton.
Adelaide's nice.
Yeah, it's
We
beautiful.
just like making fun of it.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's it's
Great wine,
Oh yeah, the seafood is incredible. It's
nature.
it's whole and
It's not, busy.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I that tour, like getting to do this whole thing, and I've been to Wave Rock. I've been to
Wave Rock.
Yeah, up to Cairns. I've snorkeled the Great Barrier Reef. I am the luckiest person in the world.
I love that you think that, bro. That's so good. Not enough people say that.
Yeah, well, I feel like a charmed life. You've had this.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, your parents are musicians, like you said before. They gave you a joke book when you were young. One thing led to another. You had a nice boss that, supported you. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Gratitude. I love that.
Yeah. And when you have like, I
love that.
I know you're at 2 million listeners per episode now. And
Yeah.
what I like to do and spend time is just mentioning the people that I'm a fan of. By the way, you should.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We started with a couple of Aussies. Did we finish that?
I got sidetracked, but yeah.
Yeah. Any other Aussie comedians? Mickey D is a
Yeah, Mickey D is incredible.
Someone
Luke Hagee
Deakin?
is so
Luke
great.
Hagee?
Wayne Deakin is.
Wayne Deakin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do the Rushmore then.
Oh, Rushmore! My goodness.
Well, that's a
I
fourth.
wonder-
There's a fourth. There's got to be a fourth Aussie.
Well, I don't even know, but we'll say these are just people I'm a fan of. I wonder who would be on the Mount Rushmore. That would be an impressive, because I wouldn't even know. But anyway, and then let's see.
Your internationals as well. Let's do Aussies and internationals.
Okay, so we'll put four Australians. One of the smartest, funniest is a guy by the name of Jacques Barrett. He is Jacques Barrett is crazy.
Rings a bell.
Funny. He's like, it's painful how funny he is. So, and then international.
Do you know where he's from?
Jacques is from Queensland.
Queenslander.
I believe. Yeah. Yeah. And I love, for me, somebody like Jacques Barrett and Luke Hagee really kind of speak to me because it's the most self-deprecating comedy in the world. They just spend so much time making fun of themselves.
Oh, I love that kind of comedy.
Yeah. And they're magical at it. Like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
It's like so good. So
That's an essential part of being a human, being able to make fun of yourself.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you take yourself too seriously, it
Exactly.
takes the fun out of
You
it.
take everything seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And then international, let's see. Who do well, there's
Like
this.
all time. As well.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a comedian in Canada on the East Coast. So she's in university right now, but she started before I did. Her name is Nikki Payne. So Nikki and then Payne. Nikki Payne. So Nikki Payne is the hardest I've ever laughed at a comedy
Really?
show. Oh, she punished a crowd, and there was probably 20 comedians in the crowd as well. She punished the crowd for an hour and 10 minutes. Your stomach hurts so bad. you were begging for mercy. You were actually like, you got to stop.
Yes.
I have to leave the room. It was so painful. Oh my goodness. It was like awful. But at the same time, so good. Let's see. I tour with a comedian by the name of Kathleen Madigan. She's a famous American comedian, originally from St. Louis. Kathleen Madigan is one of the most prolific comedians I ever saw work. She churns out a new hour every year and a half, and it's every bit as good as the previous one. It's like, like so good. Kathleen Madigan's great. And then watching, so I saw Jim Jeffries.
Oh, yeah.
In 2005 at Just for Laughs, before he was a big name.
Really, yeah.
And I was annoyed because he was on a show with Doug Stanhope, and Doug Stanhope wasn't headlining. And I went, why wouldn't Doug Stanhope be headlining? He's like the most famous. Who's this other guy I've never heard of? Didn't even know he was Australian. He comes out, crushes.
Yeah.
Crushes. And I was like, oh.
Where was that? Do you remember?
Just for Laughs, yeah. It was at Club Soda, I want to say. Yeah, Club Soda is a theater in Montreal. Yeah. And I've talked to Jim Jeffries since then and said, like, I saw you in 2005. He goes, those were my first ever shows in North America.
Yeah.
So those shows were he was living in England.
Right.
Performing. He'd lived in London for a long time. Yeah. So he's in LA now.
Rings a bell.
Yeah.
Now you're piecing it together.
Yeah. It's been fun to, I mean, and this is going to sound cheesy and terribly cliche, so I apologize, Australians. But, you know, I'm a little older than you. But when Crocodile Deke came out, you know, me
Dundee.
being like, Crocodile Dundee, like being 12, 13 and seeing this, like, oh my God, Australia is the coolest place in the world. And then, of course, the Crocodile Hunter. So I have Steve Irwin's autograph on a postcard from the Australia Zoo.
That's mad.
One of my friends.
You saw him?
Nope. I was a casino dealer, and a couple of my friends were also casino dealers who were Australian, who were living and working in Canada, and they were from Brisbane.
Yeah, right.
So they went to a zoo, got Steve Irwin's autograph, and then brought me the postcard back with his autograph on it. But I mean, that was the biggest show in Canadian like TV for however 2-3 years. Like everybody, and I wasn't doing comedy at the time, but every stand-up comedian was doing jokes about the Crocodile Hunter. You know, so
Right.
So
20 years since he passed, by the way.
yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah. And it's nice. I mean, his kids look well adjusted and they're carrying on the legacy.
sure.
And it's you know, it was oh man. Norm Macdonald did a joke like the week after he passed, and it was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's also a stand-up.
A week's too soon.
Yes, which is exactly what Jon Stewart. So Norm Macdonald is sitting there and he goes, Norm Macdonald's a Canadian comedian. He was on Saturday Night Live and everything. He goes, oh, so the Crocodile Hunter died? And you could see Jon Stewart be like, no, like this beloved person who was
Beloved.
A beacon of light, love and animals. And, no. And Norm Macdonald goes, you know who's probably mad Crocodile Hunter died? Crocodiles. He goes, because they're like, hey, did you hear the Crocodile Hunter died? The crocodiles were like, who got him? Big Eddie? Did Big Eddie get him? And they were like, no, it was a stingray. And the crocodiles are like, no.
That is a funny joke.
It's a funny joke, but imagine telling that. So you can find that clip on YouTube, and you can see Jon Stewart immediately like, no, abort, get out of this. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
It would have been hard not to laugh, though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair.
Yeah.
It was so hilarious to see this, something that's irrefutably funny.
Yeah.
And
That's so true.
I was talking to crocodiles. Yeah.
Because you can't imagine them talking to each other.
Yeah. Like,
what I mean?
did you hear? So somebody, the Crocodile Hunter, what? Who got him? Big Eddie? Big Eddie get him? No, it was a stingray.
And he rescued a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
So you could make a joke about them being, you know, sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. When did he rescue you? Oh, 2008.
Yeah. You're petting your crocodile. It's a rescue.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah. Princess Diana, Steve Irwin, two people you couldn't joke about within the first 3 years
Oh, yeah.
of their passing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Norm Macdonald, who was so fearless and knows that the joke holds water.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
knows that, like,
It's timeless now.
yeah. And I was talking to Brad Oakes. So I think my disposition is happy. You know, I'm like a happy person, and when I go on stage, I'm happy to
Yeah,
be
you
there.
are.
And
That's what really attracted me to you when I saw you on stage. I'm like, this guy's stoked.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And you don't want to be. I think a comedian almost needs to be a little deadpan. Like my favorite comedians are not laughing at their own jokes. They're just delivering the material and acting like, why is the audience laughing so hard?
Yeah.
But I was talking to Brad Oakes last night, and he said, he goes, I'm a little bit abrasive, and he knows he's a little bit abrasive. And he goes, it's a harder time for him. He's such a great writer. So we were talking about some of the jokes that he had done that night, and we were talking about writing last night. And he said, I go up, the material has to be rock solid, because if you are somebody who is going to be a little abrasive, you know, you're going to spit a little venom at people, the jokes have to be like that, where you go, this is bulletproof. This joke is bulletproof. And that will get the laugh. You know, Anthony Jeselnik does such a wonderful job of that, where Anthony Jeselnik is bulletproof. His material is so hilarious. I don't know if there's a person who does better misdirection than Anthony Jeselnik, and then goes doubles down on it. It's incredible to watch somebody who can present the darkest material in the world, but it is irrefutably funny. And I think there's one thing that I've always loved this. Kurt Metzger said, New York comic, very, very funny. He said, your only argument as an audience member when it comes to comedy, your only legitimate argument is that you didn't find the joke funny. He's like, that's your only argument. And I agree with that. And it's hard for me to convey how much I agree with that.
Yeah.
So let's say you're at a comedy show and somebody does a joke about diabetes. And there was a guy at a show, and what comedian's doing a joke about that. He goes, I don't want to get type 2 diabetes. I'm going in full speed. I want type 1. And this guy, guy got mad. And he's like, what? Well, the guy had lost his mother to diabetes recently. So that was a trigger for him, where he got angry because somebody was joking about something that was close to him. Yeah, very personal. And struck a nerve.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you going to a comedy show and a comedian saying something
Yeah.
that you don't like, you have to realize our goal is to make people laugh. We're like, some comedians want to be offensive. Some people want to be grown, you know, this cringe comedy. But most comedians, and I would say almost every professional comedian, they want to make the people laugh.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. Can I make people laugh? So 2 or 3 years ago, I did a set in Fitzroy, and the set was great. The audience loved it. 100 people, 120 people. Show was awesome. And this guy comes up, I would say early 30s, and he goes, oh, hey, that one joke. I go, are you about to critique my act? And he goes, well, it's just that one joke. And I go, like, are you about to critique my act? And he goes, well, yeah. And I go, fuck off. I go, it will be impossible for me to care less what you think about one of my jokes. I go, I'm not the complaints department, man. I go home and write a blog. I go, and it's interesting.
You didn't know he was going to say something good? You didn't think he was going to be like that one joke?
He was.
Made me fucking laugh so hard. I just want you tell the guy to fuck off. He was able to spit out that he loved it.
It's like, man, I really like that comedian's. And no,
Sorry.
he was critiquing it because he didn't like this one joke or this one bit. And it's interesting that somebody would think that their opinion is important.
Yeah. Well, hello. Welcome to 2025, people.
What I loved about it is this is somebody who would go up and complain about their steak being overcooked. I'm like, you're not talking to the manager of a restaurant here.
Yeah.
I'm a stand-up comedian. And now I want to say the most important part of comedy is the audience. The audience as a whole is genius.
As a unit.
Yes. Genius. Yes. The smartest thing in the world is the wisdom of a crowd. That hive mind, that collective group, that mob mentality, when they come together in a comedy audience, if they don't laugh at your stuff, they're right. Yeah. And we as comedians have to edit to make it funnier for the next crowd, and then the next one, and then the next one. So an audience genius.
Yeah.
You, as an audience members, you are the smartest thing that ever existed together. If one joke out of a 25-minute set rubbed you the wrong way, your only legitimate complaint is that you didn't find it funny. That's it. Because my goal wasn't to offend you. That wasn't directed at you personally. I didn't I write this joke just to strike a nerve with you.
It wasn't about your mum's diabetes.
It wasn't about your mom's diabetes.
Yeah.
And it's so funny where somebody goes, oh, I was offended by that. And I want to go, so you went to a comedy show, comedy club, whatever. So you're at a comedy show. You probably bought a ticket.
Yeah.
Unless you're at the Exford After Party, only free show in the Melbourne Comedy Festival. So you bought a ticket. Now you're sitting there. This isn't a politician who's on a campaign trail. This is a guy who clearly is a person who wrote jokes to try and make you laugh, to try and bring joy to you, because probably most comedians want or seek the approval of strangers, that they want to be adored, all of that stuff. So it's hilarious to me that somebody's like, I didn't like that one joke, and this guy was like, oh, by the way, that one, and I said, I'm like, I don't care what one person thought of my set or my show or one joke. I don't give a shit, and I love the reaction of somebody who came up to get satisfaction. Yeah. I'm going to go up and I'm going to give this guy a piece of my mind. And I'm like, I don't have to listen to you. Yeah. Now, if I said something terribly offensive, you can complain to the venue, the booker. You can complain to somebody and you go, what did you think? I used to I worked cruise ships for 4 years as a comedian, and I had somebody get mad, and she was drunk. She had broken up with her boyfriend on the cruise, so she was still on the cruise. She went down and wrote a complaint. The joke was about luggage. When I was touring for the military in 2011, I did shows in Iraq and Kuwait. My luggage went missing, and she's like, you're making fun of the troops. I'm like, I'm making fun of losing my luggage. Like, I'm not making fun of the troops. The joke was I actually lost my luggage. Like, the special forces.
She didn't hear.
No.
She was in her own head.
Yeah, and that's triggered by whatever.
I find that some comedy crowds are in their own head. Like the other night, I was watching this guy at the Comics Lounge just shaking his head. And I was like, dude, he's not even present anymore. Yeah. He's just scared. He's just running around in his own little mind, scared about what might come out this guy's next. To be fair, Coloured's set that night was pretty... was probably the biggest hardcore silent crowd that I've seen ever. Were you there for that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that was fucking brutal.
Well, and Tuesdays at the Comics Lounge are often, not always, but sometimes new material night. Yeah. So we're working on stuff. Yeah. So an accomplished headliner went up. He's doing 8 minutes.
Yeah.
The first 4 minutes, getting laughs. Audience was great. Yeah. It was a great audience. Does 4 minutes, getting laughs, goes into some new stuff, and the audience turned off like a switch.
It was never seen that before, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen an audience enjoy the first 3 or 4 minutes and then hate the last 4 minutes, but it's new material, right? That's how you find out what works.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's true.
And as a
comedian, found out the hard way.
Well, found out the only way we can find out.
Found out the only way
to take it in front of a crowd. And man, I've had Jerry Seinfeld was asked, what percentage of your material do you think you of the jokes you write? What? And he goes, I don't know, like 1 or 2 in 10.
Okay,
15-20% of the jokes that you write end up in there. So if you think about that, every comedian, and I would say at best 1 in 10, probably 1 in 20. When I write a joke, it ends up being good enough to be in the act. If you think that that comedian is going to have a dozen jokes that don't work, for every one that does, you're like, oh, that didn't work. But it's like, that's how we figured out. We take it to a live audience. There's no other way to test this material, and you have a better sense of it as you do comedy more and more. You kind of have, what's funny, and you take it to them. And if they don't like it, then you can tweak it and try it. I had a joke. I did this open mic in Canada, and they're all my friends in the audience, familiar with me, and I have a little bit of a following in Edmonton. And I go up, and I only had one joke I wanted to work on. So I go up, and the premise of the joke was, when I was a kid, my parents used to leave me with my grandparents a lot. But my grandparents had both passed, so they would just drop me off in a graveyard. And I was like, when you're 7 years old, graveyards are scary. So I told the joke, didn't really work. So then I said to the audience, I go, well, this is the only joke I wanted to work on tonight. So I told the joke again and completely changed the entry into the joke and the setup and the punchline. And then and I go, okay. And then I told the joke a third time, but I was deliberately practicing on trying to make a premise work that I thought was funny. I wasn't fucking off the audience.
What
I
happened?
wasn't.
No,
No, it
did
never
get
really
better?
worked. No, it
No,
never got work. It never really worked. But for me, you have to be able to paint the picture that my grandparents are no longer alive.
Yeah.
While at the same time making that element of surprise, because if you go, my parents used to drop me off with my grandparents all the time, but they were both dead. So I was just at a graveyard, and it's not like snappy, it doesn't make everybody go like, that's great. So it never really worked, but I had to find out how that joke would work a bunch of different ways. And I had 3 or 4 ideas of how I could set it up and then have the punchline be the surprise. So I just told it again and again and again. So the set you're talking about where a guy goes up, does pretty well for 4 minutes, and then dead silence.
Like pin drop.
Pin drop. And I've seen, one time I saw a professional headliner do that. It was probably 15 years ago, and 2 of my good friends who are still good, my good friends were in the audience, and they still talk about it 15 years later. Like, that guy bombed for 45 minutes. And I go, yeah, I've never seen it. 45. Dead. Like, as quiet as it was for that 4 minutes, for 45 minutes.
Fuck, I would have shit myself.
He bombed so bad. And he's actually an accomplished headliner sometimes. But talking about the genius of an audience, you are when you go to a comedy show, and I get when somebody says, I'm no expert, but, and I stop them when it comes to comedy. I go, you are the expert of your sense of humor. There is nobody more expert when it comes to what makes you laugh than you. So they're like, oh, I didn't love that guy's comedy, but I'm no expert. And I'm like, yeah, but you are, because your sense of humor is very specifically your sense of humor, and no one can tell you this is what this is, oh, you know what, I should have laughed at that. Well, if you didn't, it's because it didn't tickle your funny bone.
No, that's true. Troy King, one of my guests, talks about that. He does some neuroscience work at the moment, but he used to do stand-up, and he talks about the collective brain of the audience. And how he would intentionally start each show like making fun of the suburb next door. So if he was in Ferntree Gully, he'd make fun of Croydon, for example, because making fun of Croydon, get into that collective psyche, hack into it in the first minute, and then bang, everything just worked from there. So but you're the second person I've heard say that, and I can relate to it now, having been at shows where the audience is just losing their minds, and then collectively, pin drop just switches off. Like a light. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like that before.
And they were right.
I've seen DJs do the opposite, where I saw this one DJ once when I was maybe 20. Came into this club where I was working. The night was going hot. It was good. And this guy just starts murdering it like badly. Like terrible. Because similar to the Mad, you got to be real specific about what you mean. So he turned the room right off. Everyone stopped dancing. And then he just picked it back up again. And by the end of his set, it's like he intentionally made the night, the dance floor, cold so that he could pick it back up again and show how good he is at turning it off and on. And that was wild. I'd never seen a guy do that before. I was like, whoa, this guy's got balls to come onto a hot dance floor and turn it off intentionally just so you can show how good you are at just switching it back on. That's a skill.
That is somebody who is so talented and knows they're so talented.
They were an international DJ, by the way, as well. So everyone was looking forward to this guy. And so sorry to interrupt, but the first hour, people were like, this is the international we came to see? This is shit. And then by the end of it, they were like, oh, damn. Sorry.
So Rob Pugh, I watched him in Edmonton. He's headlining. He's doing 45 minutes. And I don't know if he had a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if he was, but he goes up and for 30 minutes drives the show into the ground. I mean, nosedive. Drives it into the ground. And then last 15 minutes, pulls it out and has a borderline standing ovation. And near the end of his set, he went, he's like, all of you guys have no conviction or what, like he was like busting their balls because he's like, you all hated me and now you all love me, and it's like, you
Which
guys,
one is it?
which one is? But exactly like that, where the guy's like, I am going to reset this room deliberately, and then I'm going to take it to a level that these people have probably never seen, and the skill level to, because he, of course, he did it on purpose. Like, there's no way somebody would have something go that off the rails, and then you're like, oh wow, this is no good. And then I watched a comedian named Danny Bevins, and he had just won. There's two really prestigious comedy competitions in the U.S. It's San Francisco and Seattle.
Right.
So he had just won Seattle, and I'm very excited because I was a big fan of those competitions, and I'm very excited to work with him. So Danny Bevins gets on stage, and he starts the first 10, 12 minutes like almost no laughs. And I was like, what? This guy won Seattle? And then he just built and built and built and built and built. And by the end of his set, he reached a height that I don't know if I've seen many times. And it was a deliberate, I'm going to build little by little, and then, and it was, like, Danny Bevins is so incredibly funny. But I remember the first 10 minutes I saw him, I was like, oh, this guy's not great. And then I was like, holy shit, he's so good.
Oh, man. Yeah, that reminds me of Arj Barker. I saw him on the new material night where he tried the material that he did the other night.
Yeah.
He was there the other night, wasn't he?
Yep.
I always forget who was where. And yeah, he was setting it up really differently, and you could tell it was genuinely new material. He's he actually turned the crowd off, and very similar. I just saw it go really dead, and then he just went bang, and he finished off with the old 99% of germs bit. And by the end of it, people were losing their minds. And it was just the way he set up, you know. But also, Arj is really great with his facial expressions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you think he's really sad and like he's maybe about to cry when he's talking about something really sad, you know.
Yeah.
And you start to believe it. And I think the audience kind of bought into that. Or like, he's actually talking about his grandparents dying or something like that. And everyone just went quiet and hush. But then he pulled it. He brought it back with the 99% joke, and I was like,
I don't know the 99% joke.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, it's a hand sanitizer joke.
Yeah, I don't. I know.
Kills-
So I have a joke about it.
Kills 99% of germs.
Right.
But it's that one fucking germ that you. And I feel really bad saying this bit because it's not my bit, it's his bit. But I'm just trying to explain the joke. Yeah. Hand sanitizer. That 0.1% germ that you got, like, that I'm really worried about. And now I've got a reason to be worried because I'm pretty sure I just killed all his family and friends.
I have the exact same joke.
You kidding? You haven't seen him do that?
No, I've never. So
That's
I never.
wild.
I'm
so sorry for revealing that here.
No, it's great. So
How does he say it? How do you say it?
I never really got it to work. It would have been one of the jokes that got thrown out. So my joke went, there's like a cleaner. I didn't use hand sanitizer, but it's like a cleaner that kills 99.9% of germs. And I go, yeah, but that 1% or 0.1%, the word I used was vendetta.
Similar word.
Yeah. So I was like, that 1% is going to come back.
Yeah.
Like, who was it? There was a license to kill. Yeah. So, like, I had literally, and it's called parallel thought for your listeners.
Yeah.
So when somebody takes something and somebody else, so I had a joke about, I don't know. I've been drawing a blank on his name lately. I probably have to go soon, but So there's a comedian that does the State of the Industry address, and I don't know why I drew a blank on his name before.
State of the industry.
Yeah, just for laughs, State of the Industry address.
I love how tech.
Andy Kindler. Yeah, I don't know why. So Andy Kindler, very funny comedian. So I'm at Just for Laughs in 2010 in Montreal, and my joke was about when you're doing your laundry, there's a tag, but it's just hieroglyphics. Yeah, right. So I'm not supposed to diamond, cross, circle, 14 degrees. Like, I don't know what any of these means.
Yeah.
So I was like, these hieroglyphics, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And I was developing the bit, and then I saw Andy Kindler do almost the exact same bit. I had a couple of little lines in mind that I actually thought were funnier. And in those moments when you almost want to go to the guy and go, hey, I was working on an exact same joke, and here's two little lines in this that I think are pretty good. But as a comedian, you would just drop the bit. Like, you just wouldn't continue developing it. And that Arch Barker, when I was like, I wonder if that's like I probably have a recording, because I record almost all of my sets. I would have a recording of that bit from 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And Arj and I are familiar with each other. Like, I've met him a bunch of times. Met him in San Francisco. Met him here a bunch of times. He's one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And one of the most sincerely funny human beings.
He is very funny.
He's an absolute killer. So if you're not familiar with Arch Barker, go watch Arch Barker. He's amazing. He's so good. So in that, when that happens, you just drop the bit. And twice in my career, somebody stole a joke, but I didn't care. Like, it's a comedian
it's like a compliment.
Well, sort of. And
except if they're claiming that it says.
Well, mine had been put on TV already, so it was already on TV. So I just called the guy, and I knew him, and I said, oh, hey, I just want you to know, like, we have a similar bit. But one of my opening acts was opening for him, and the guy did my joke verbatim, and it's unique enough that it'd be hard for it to be parallel thought. And I just called him and said, hey, just so we don't, I go, I have a very similar bit. I didn't even say he stole it. I go, we have a very similar bit. Mine's already on TV. I just want to let you know that, because somebody might think that you took it. But I don't care. It's already on TV. I don't even do the joke anymore. You want to keep doing the joke? No problem at all. Like, I don't give a shit. But with someone like Arj or somebody like Andy Kindler, if you as a comedian who in the hierarchy of comedy, they were doing it, they'd put it on social media, they'd put it on TV. If you continue to do that bit, your integrity comes into question a little bit, because you know that a more famous person has done it, and they've probably done it on social media or on TV, and you're going to continue to do that bit. Yes, you came up with it independently. Yes, you wrote it on your own.
But
yeah, you can't really do that. And that's And it's funny, like, the times when I've had parallel thought and I called a guy who was like above me, and I go, hey, oh man, there was one that was a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, you're going.
So I was doing the Halifax Comedy Festival, and you do 2 TV tapings. There's one that's like 7 or 8 minutes, and then one that's like 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had this bit about a Catholic wedding. So I went to a Catholic wedding. My family's not Catholic. I didn't know the moves. You know, I didn't know. So this whole bit, and I was about to do it on TV, and then I saw another comedian's bit that was similar, and he's been doing it a little longer, and his bit's on TV. They're different enough bits that you wouldn't know. They're just completely, hey, he went to Catholic church and I was at a Catholic wedding. So went and sat with him at a table. He's also taping at this festival, and I go, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I have a bit. It's the same premise as your bit that I just saw on Just for Laughs. So I just wanted to let you know. And he goes, and he's a friend of mine. He's funny. He goes, thank you for not doing the joke.
Yeah, nice.
And I went, oh. I was going to get his blessing to do the joke that's different enough, and he said, thank you for not doing the joke.
He's just intercepted you.
Yeah. And I probably like that guy who was going to compliment me, and I told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny, man. That's so good.
So I didn't do the joke on TV because somebody who I respected, somebody who I consider a friend, and somebody who I would say in whatever hierarchy that comedy exists, he's a little bit ahead of me. So I go, okay, if he doesn't want me to do the bit, I just didn't do the bit. Put something else in there.
It's respecting the scene. There's camaraderie there as well.
Yeah.
You know how much work it takes to do a joke, to write a joke, to get a bit and to refine it and get the timing right. Yeah. I mean, there's only so many life experiences and things in the world. You know what I mean? Like, obviously people are going to write jokes about similar things. You know, like, I don't know, the trams in Melbourne.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Surely that's got to come up more than once. Not that there's anything funny about them, hence why I'm not a stand-up comedian. But what I've loved about chatting with you this whole time is how much I've learned that you're just a student of comedy. Like, you're just reeling off comedians' names. Some of them I've never even heard of before. You love your industry. You're stoked. Yeah, you're just general stoke to be alive and to be in the art form that you're in. I was kind of thinking back at the beginning, you had mimes, stand-up comedians.
Rodeo clowns.
Rodeo clowns. I'm trying to figure out where puppeteers and ventriloquists come.
I would put them at a tie for stand-up comedians. Because ventriloquists really are just stand-up comedians.
You've actually thought about this?
No,
I was going to leave it as a rhetorical question.
Sure. I don't want to put ventriloquists above us, but I don't know if I'd want to put them below us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a skill set. But yeah, just honestly, I'm so stoked that you've been able to make this happen. This has been a lot of fun, man. And I know you've got to go. You've got a rugby match to go to. It's almost 1:00.
yeah, perfect.
And
I'll
I
meet him
promised
at the
I
gates.
wouldn't.
It was
keep
awesome.
You.
And seeing your passion for this and to think outside the box. I love somebody who thinks outside the box. So I had have a like radio show in Canada
Yeah.
for 19 years.
Awesome.
Before podcasts were ever a thing, we had this, and I got the idea because I really love Robin Williams' Good Morning Vietnam. Like I was a huge fan of that as a
Same. I love that movie.
kid. Yeah.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Yeah. Oh, vivo da nang me. Why don't you take a rope and hang me? Oh, it's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh my God, it's early.
He's in my Rushmore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, without a doubt.
Yep.
And he and I have the same birthday,
No way.
July
when's that?
21st. Yeah.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Yep. So seeing somebody who takes an idea of a podcast and then it's like, okay, you can do it in a studio. You can do it. Where would be the coolest spot in Melbourne to do a podcast? I don't know if there's a cooler spot.
There isn't, but that wasn't the question that led me here.
Really?
It was an accident. I had nowhere to. It was like this morning when I texted you, with 3 hours to go. But for the guest of that day, he was like, "Where are we meeting?" Because I hadn't told him where we're meeting yet, and I still hadn't worked it out. Because I don't have a studio, and it was going to be my first in-person recording for quite some time. And I was just like, "Fuck it, I'll meet you in Hosier Lane. We'll work it out from there." And I told this one yesterday. We actually set up on this footpath bit,
Mm-hmm.
just here, and I think just down there, and it worked. And we came back like a few weeks later and did another one, same guy, before Comedy Festival, after Comedy Festival. And then about a month later, I had this other comic that had hit me up and said he wanted to do it, but it was raining that day. And I was like, can't do it on the footpath. Let's just move into this bunker.
That's great.
Yeah, but I've got a Polaroid that some chick shot from the very first recording when I'm on see that stool that you've got your stuff on?
Yep.
We were sitting on those stools. The whole kit fit in this backpack, right? And she's taking this Polaroid from over there, and we're like this. And it was like, that was the first one. That was the first one I
Wow.
did here.
What a cool to
Yeah,
have that.
was cool. But honestly, yeah, it's been such a great experience for me to have you on. And thank you for agreeing to do this on such short notice in the middle of the comedy festival where you're back to back, you're doing rugby matches, you're immersing yourself in the Melbourne experience. And I'm really glad that I could help, be part of this this memory for you.
Well, it was a real pleasure, and I look forward to coming back next year.
Yeah. And your handle, for anyone that didn't catch it earlier, is Extra Lars, EXTRALARS for salmon, which is what bears eat.
Exactly.
But thank you so much, man. It's been so good to have you. Woo! Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Let's clap it out. Yes. Lars, you're a legend, bro.
Oh, no, thank you. It was fantastic.